Hello friends, welcome back to the channel with me, Evelyn, and Lady Luna, who sat down here enjoying some sunshine. A huge thank you to you all for being here and for supporting this, my very own little creative corner of the internet here on YouTube. Now, if you haven't done so already, friends, please go and hit that all important subscribe button. This week I'm continuing creating that vintage vacation capsule wardrobe for my upcoming holiday. As you can tell, yes, it's really nice and sunny here in the Scottish Highlands today, but the weather is still incredibly changeable. Yesterday we had thunderstorms and torrential rain. Enough said. And it's making me realise that having the idea of having an adaptable capsule wardrobe is a really good idea indeed. I definitely need things for cooler weather and warmer weather like this gorgeous weather we're having today. So my friends, without further ado, let's continue creating that capsule wardrobe, beginning by mending and finishing those things that we found in last week's video. Let's go. Hello you. You okay? Yeah? Hello? You alright? And first up, my friends, on the mending agenda was a new zip in my navy Loretta shorts. Now, these shorts from the Gertie's World Patreon have become a bit of a wardrobe staple for me, and I just love them, so a new zip was much needed. I find that patience and hand tacking makes all the difference with my zips, and happily this one was a nice, quick and easy job, and after hand finishing the waistband, my shorts were as good as new. Then it was on to replacing the buttons on my heart print cardigan, beginning by removing the broken pieces and the 2 remaining buttons, which were promptly put back into my button stash. Happily, the new vintage buttons that I had acquired just for this very job arrived ready to be sewn on. And even more happily, the sunshine decided to show up, meaning that it was a trip into the garden for Luna and I while those buttons were sewn on. Now friends, I don't know if anyone else gets like this, but once I get on a roll with my sewing, I tend to just go, and this little mending frenzy went just that way. I was feeling really motivated, and so I completely forgot to take some progress pictures of my white cardigan. But here is how it looks now it's all finished. I really love this cardigan design, and it's actually one of my absolute favourite pattern drafting projects so far. And yes friends, you've guessed it, a tutorial for it is right here on the Evelyn Adore channel. I'll pop a card above. After sewing up a finishing and mending storm, I decided to create one of the dresses that I chatted about last week, and it's a dress that I've wanted to make forever, from this gorgeous book here, Gertie Sews Jiffy Dresses, the popover dress. Let's check it out. Inspired by this version of the popover dress in the Jiffy Dresses book, I grabbed my purple gingham fabric and I got to sewing. To start, I pattern matched those checks along the centre back and centre front seams of the dress. Unfortunately, I couldn't cut my pieces on the bias like Gertie's version because I only had 3 meters of this gingham. But I was pretty happy with the pattern matching, which after sewing looked like this. Centre front, centre back and side seams sewn, this is what my dress was looking like on Betty. Bear with me here my friends, because this style of dress is designed to be cinched in with a belt, like this one. Voila! Now my initial plan was to either do some elastic shearing at the waistline like on Gertie's version, or create a simple elastic waist, stitching a channel to join the outer dress to a lining layer that I had created, because my gingham fabric was rather see-through. But in the end, I just decided to do neither, because, after all, why ruin that awesome pattern matching? Lining and outer fabric layers were joined along the neckline before top stitching, and then it was time for the armhole facings to neatly finish the arm size, beginning by stitching the facings into a ring, and then pinning them right sides together all around the arm side, before trimming the seam allowances and turning them to the inside of the garment, tucking the raw edge to the inside before top stitching in place. Then I turned my attention to creating some pockets, of course. For these pockets, I cut 4 rectangles of my fabric on the bias, each measuring 8 inches by 9 inches, placing the pairs right sides together before stitching around the outside, leaving a gap at the bottom to turn them out. Next up, I trimmed down the seam allowances and clipped to them just before the gaps. And when those pockets are turned out and pressed, with the seam allowances of the gaps pressed to the inside, they looked like this. Not being one for making things easy for myself, my friends, I placed those pockets on my dress in a cute overlapped style, which took some serious brain power when it came to working out how to stitch them to the garment and yet still have both be fully functioning pockets. But work it out I did, firstly attaching the pockets together where they meet in the centre, before stitching the underneath pocket to the dress layer just along the right side and bottom edge, which then allowed me to stitch around the remaining edges of the pockets without compromising on their function. 2 usable overlapping pockets. Shall we check out that final dress? Well, my friends, it's been a rather productive week, mending and finishing some much loved projects and finally getting to create the popover dress of my dreams, which I absolutely love. And I even created a matching belt to go with it. Stay tuned right here to the Evelyn Adore channel, my friends, to see how these belts are created really soon. At times, sewing can feel like a daunting hobby, with so many techniques and tools to master, but when the motivation hits and your creations work out, there is truly nothing like it. But until next week, my friends, when I fill some gaps in this me-made capsule wardrobe and share my favourite casual top patterns and fabrics, and more besides, you take care, my friends, and I'll see you then. Bye!